Ethical leadership in our job is a matter of life and death. Straight up, no black and white there. If you don't make the right decision, that's something you're going to live with forever.
So those moving words were from Lance Corporal Michael Williams, who's one of my soldiers here in Townsville. We'll meet him again later as we delve deeper into leadership ethics. Hello, my name's Brice Javot, and today, with my partner Sasha Lamb, we'll be exploring leadership ethics in more detail. We'll do this through a series of probing interviews, which utilise defence members, given that we both have a background in defence. In our roles, we encounter ethical dilemmas on a daily basis, so it made sense for us to explore it through this lens.
Ethical leadership can be defined as the demonstration of a normative, appropriate conduct through personal actions and interpersonal relationships, and promotion of such conduct to followers through two-way communication, reinforcement, and decision-making. Essentially, this definition means an ethical leader would have traits such as honesty, integrity, altruism, trustworthiness, collective motivation, and justice.
We'll explore three key themes along this journey, and they are the personal values that develop ethical leadership in action, and the shared moral code that enhances ethical leadership and makes an effective leader.
I've been put in positions where in combat we had the option to engage targets. Those targets weren't targets, they were human beings. But we had to follow our ROE. We knew they were firing upon us. The standard procedure for them was to fire till empty, throw, move to the next position. And I watched the exact same guy who was just shooting at us go from one building to the next and then start firing at us from that building, knowing that we couldn't engage that building because I'd watched females and small children go into that building. So, not that I didn't want to engage. He was not just firing upon us, he's firing upon our mates, but to have that courage to go, let's not, because we're gonna hurt people that have no idea what's going on and no control over it whatsoever.
I sat down with my current manager, Caroline, who is not only my manager and seen as a leader in our current business line, but also throughout our organisation, and interviewed her about what ethical leadership means to her.
Leadership ethics, to me, is about demonstrating through actions that you're committed to an organisation's values, but your own values as well. I think it is best demonstrated in action. So it's about listening to people, but it's about doing the right thing. If it doesn't feel right, if there's something telling you that it's not okay, it probably isn't. And they're the times to stop and question your decisions. And for me, that's what leadership ethics is about.
So what does ethical leadership mean to you?
To me, it means to lead your personnel the best way you can. Guided by your moral compass. You ensure while doing that you would never ask anything upon the people you're attempting to lead to do something you wouldn't do yourself. Also, another great thing is to do it lead by example. Show them what your ethics are, and hope that then they start to adopt those ethics. Once everyone's singing off the same page, you shouldn't have any issues whatsoever.
But is it possible to still be a good leader with a different set of moral values to your own? And can you still appreciate their ethics or their moral values when it comes to your followership or leadership in your own team?
I think that's sort of a hard thing because really it depends how far out their or how far away their morals and ethics are to yours. So if you completely disagree with what they say about one thing, how are you meant to follow that? Like, I mean, if they think drinking and driving is awesome, you should go do it. And I know that that's the wrong thing to do. Like, why would I go do it?
On another occasion, we had 100% confirmation. We're about to be ambushed. We had soldiers on one side of a river, soldiers on the other half. So it was about a 50-50 mixture. We were up on a big hill in an overwatch position, just basically protecting them with fire if required. We had 6 enemy personnel turn up. The guys on the radio were intercepting everything. They had a bearing directly to them. They gave the bearing to us over the radio. We shot the bearing. Well, the same guys that I'd already been scanning for 15 minutes. The 6 crew ran off in pairs of 2. I started tracking them as I was going. Could still not verify that I had positive identification on a weapon system of any description on them, as they seemed to have tucked them in with their flowing gowns that they were wearing away from where we were. Finally, one of them had tripped and exposed his weapon system, which was glowing pretty much white hot in my thermal sight at that time, and at which his friend came back to help him. He made the same mistake, pulled out their weapons. They were starting to have a go. From that position, I called in to my crew commander, let him know what I'd seen, positive identification, and then continue to engage. That was lasted for about 3 seconds, at which I realised that was probably the right thing to do. We could have had the opportunity to earlier engage at 6 targets. However, if we'd found that there was personnel over there that weren't armed, that's something that you're going to live with for the rest of your life, and I'd have to live with for the rest of my life. So if my moral compass wasn't set right where it needed to be, I would have definitely I would have been doing the wrong thing.
So the next question is about people who are perceived to be good leaders. Do you think that those people may also always demonstrate appropriate leadership ethics?
It's an interesting one. I actually think that there's been a rise over at least the last decade of the importance of leadership ethics. I think it's changed. I think that if you look back on leadership 10 years ago, 15 years ago, there was less, it was considered less of an important trait. I think these days it's actually considered really important, and when you see leaders that aren't demonstrating leadership ethics, that's the thing that really sticks out. And I think that there's plenty of examples of people that don't demonstrate ethics. Some of that is perhaps they don't even realise that they're not being ethical. Some of it is that they've made decisions on the day that seemed appropriate, but later don't look so great. Other times it's actually underhanded, and I think it's the last category that people really work hard to push back against. Do you see it? Do you see it all the time? No, I think you see it occasionally. When you do see it, and you can't assume that it's underhanded, but when you've got enough evidence to indicate that it may be, that's when I think that there's a strong sense of often an organisation or a group or even just an individual rebelling against that. So I think overall it's demonstrated quite well. Doesn't mean it's people don't make silly decisions. Doesn't mean that people don't display behaviour that's not in line with ethical behaviour, but generally it's not unhanded, and I think it's that point that it becomes a problem.
So there you have it. Thanks very much for joining us on our journey through ethical leadership today. Sasha and I would like to leave the final word to one of my young soldiers, Reese Gardner, who we think sums up ethical leadership perfectly. Thanks for joining us.
I know, but it's not just about the army. It's not like ethical ethical leadership just in the army. It should just be like a thing that everyone should have. Everyone should, understand that we're all different, and we're all going to be affected differently by what happens every day.